Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Points of Light. I want to, of course, dedicate this to the merit of my father. Unfortunately, many of you know that on the night before Pesach, he passed away. He was taken from us. Um, and of course, it was a very difficult moment. We had to observe the Shiva in the few hours that we had. But nevertheless, we know that he's in heaven asking for all of us. He had a very strong connection to the Charlotte Jewish community, to the Carolinas, and we're very grateful. So I want to talk a little bit about the times that we're in and how we shelter ourselves from all of the craziness, the darkness, the anguish, the pain that's happening in our lives right now, or it's happening around us. And I think what's important is that God has given us the ability to enter in to the island of Judaism, the island of Torah, the island of our relationship with God, where we have His countenance, and it allows us to transcend to a level that's much higher than what's happening around us in a physical way. So I'm going to tell a story, and I heard the story yesterday from a rabbi out of town who's a personal friend of mine. And he was also very close to my father. And he had called me to give me condolences and just talk a little bit about the whole situation that we're going through. And we need to realize that the Jewish community has been especially hit hard, whether it's the Jewish community in New York, the Jewish community in Paris, the Jewish community in Israel. Jewish community in a lot of places has been hit very, very hard. And the losses are mounting up in a way that is just very, very difficult to even put your head around it. So we were talking about the situation, and he told me a story. The story he told me was about his father. This story goes back to the early 40s, probably 1941. His father was a young man, 21 years old, who grew up in Poland. And as the Nazis invaded, he managed to be the lone survivor who escaped from his town, and he escaped to Russia. His father, his mother, his siblings, and all of his relatives were taken away and they were murdered by the Nazis. And he knew that. He knew that he will never ever see them again in the flesh. And thinking about survival, he ended up in Siberia. And after being in Siberia for a year, he heard that a lot of people are escaping to the city of Samarkand, which is in Uzbekistan. And he went down to Samarkand. Somehow he found a way how to get to Samarkand. Now, in those days, the hunger and the famine was so overwhelming that people were dying in the streets. And he said that in Samarkand, where it happens to be that my mother also lived there because she escaped from the Ukraine, from Kharkov, with her family, and they lived in Samarkand, it was very difficult to get by. So the death was all around them. Bodies would lie in the street, and the Chevra Kadisha would go with a horse-drawn wagon every day to collect the bodies for burial. And it was a time of great despondency. Nobody saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Nobody could even see how they could manage the next few months, the next few weeks, or the next few days, especially because of starvation. His father himself was malnourished, and it affected his vision, that at night his sight was very limited. And one time he walked in to a wrong house thinking that he's going into the place where he was staying, and it actually was into the house of a notorious anti-Semite who wanted to kill him. And by the skin of the teeth, he was able to escape, and he ran into the darkness and fell into a pit. And falling into the pit is actually what saved his life, because he wasn't found by the anti-Semite. And the next few days, he was just in a daze, not knowing what's going to be with him. And suicidal thoughts started to creep into his mind. Until one Saturday night, that next Saturday night, I should say, he was walking through the streets of Samarkand. And as he's passing by one of the houses, he hears Hasidic melodies coming forth from that house. And they were so enchanting and they were so warm and so inviting that he was sure that he was hallucinating, because malnourished people, people that are starving, usually have hallucinations. But something was different about this song. It was genuine, it was real. And he followed the voices and he entered into this basement. And when he came to this basement, he saw that there were Chabad, elder Chabad Chassidim sitting around a table having a Melave Malka, which is the traditional feast that one has after Shabbat is over. All they had was a little bottle of vodka and some boiled potatoes on the table. But that's not what attracted him. What attracted him was the warmth. And when he walked into that room, they invited him warmly and lovingly to sit down with them, even though they have never met him before. And they put their arms around him just to make him feel as one of them. And all of a sudden, he felt that he is in a place where there's no war, there's no death, there's no darkness, only light, vibrancy, warmth, and love. And he was thinking to himself, these people are in the same predicament that he's in. And how is it that they're able to transcend to that level of brightness and life in a time of darkness? And he realized at the moment that that's the secret of Judaism. That's the secret of Torah. That's the secret of the inner Torah, the Hasidic aspect and dimension, the Hasidic and inner dimension of Torah. And he became so connected to it that he connected with one of the elder rabbis, Rabbi Peretz Mochkin, and he became a lifelong student of his throughout his entire life. And I thank this rabbi friend of mine for this story because I was thinking a lot about our situation. Thank God we're not in a point of starvation. Thank God we're not in a point that we are that hopeless. But we do know that it is difficult for us. It's difficult because there is uncertainty. There's difficulty because there's the panic of what will happen if, God forbid, the pandemic strikes here. Will we survive or not? There's a lot of confusion that's around us. And as Jews, and as Hasidim, and as people that have the privilege of studying the inner Torah and immersing ourselves in it, we need to enter into that chamber of light, that chamber of hope, that chamber of brightness, that chamber of warmth, that area which gives comfort to the soul and to the body. And with that, we should be able to overcome the challenges that we're facing today. And we know that in Judaism, everything spirals upwards. This is a tremendous challenge for us, without a doubt. But we will emerge from this stronger, more united, purer, and greater, and hopefully to be able to greet the radiant face of Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily, and to be able to be reunited in the Holy Land of Israel with joy, and there shall be no more tears and no more sadness, only brightness and happiness in our future. Thank you very much.